Brittney Griner is playing a game, and this is what Brittney Griner calls. I was not going to comment on any of this stuff until this took place. Watch what she says. The entire internet has reacted to this. Here's Brittney Griner. They're playing against the Indiana Fever, and look what she's saying. Go ahead, Rob.
For the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier.
The WNBA is facing its biggest crisis yet, and it all started with one shocking comment. Caught on camera, those words ignited an absolute firestorm, prompting a brutal, no-holds-barred takedown from a prominent media figure. This wasn't just about a heated moment on the court, it was a devastating exposure of the league's deepest controversies, revealing unsettling truths about entitlement, hypocrisy, and a sport that many argue is refusing to face reality. Prepare for an unfiltered look at what happened, why it matters, and how one explosive incident ripped open the lid on everything wrong with professional women's basketball. The truth is far more damning than you can imagine, and it's something every fan needs to hear.
The ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier today.
The fuse was lit not by a championship-winning shot, but by what initially seemed like a simple basketball play, a volatile flashpoint that quickly escalated from a routine on-court moment into a national controversy. It began, as many things do, with a heated interaction between the league's undeniable new sensation, Caitlin Clark, and the polarizing Angel Reese. A series of events, a push, a retaliatory foul, a dramatic flop that looked less like a legitimate injury and more like an Oscar-worthy performance designed for maximum outrage, set the stage. But the real controversy wasn't the play itself, it was the immediate, almost Pavlovian response from certain media personalities who transformed a simple on-court skirmish into a national lightning rod.
That pretty much sounds like trash effing white girl.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest.
So the whole market reacts to this.
They fanned the flames of division, painting one player as an aggressor and the other as a victim, all while ignoring the competitive spirit that's supposed to define sports. And then, the absolute zenith of this detachment from reality, a prominent voice in sports commentary, seemingly with a straight face, declared Angel Reese the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. Let that sink in. The greatest of all time. This wasn't just hyperbole, it was an insult to basic statistical understanding. Reese's shooting percentages, particularly a glaring 22.7% from the field, were historically abysmal, making this comparison not just baseless, but laughably audacious.
To being able to read the expressions of a person and know their intent, know their character, know their perspective. But he does understand hate, because I think he also understands the hate of self. When you look at the play, which is all we can speak to as professionals, all we can speak to as analysts, Angel Reese.
It immediately signaled to millions that the narrative being pushed was completely untethered from the actual performance on the court, raising immediate questions about the integrity of the analysis itself. How could anyone with an ounce of basketball knowledge utter such a statement? This moment alone was a critical turning point, exposing the deep chasm between media rhetoric and the cold, hard facts. The stage was set, and the tension was about to boil over.
Brittney Griner, what she said about the NBA. This is so funny how all this stuff works out, right? She says, this is from Brittney, every time we play her, there's this commotion, like this loud rumbling from the stands. Turns out it's people, thousands of them, just sitting there, watching on purpose. It's very disruptive. It's called the freaking game that they pay you money to play. Don't play the game.
The discourse spiraled further into the abyss of absurdity, moving far beyond the court and into a deeply troubling battle over credibility and basic common sense that left many questioning the very foundations of sports commentary. A prominent commentator from a major sports network then launched a jaw-dropping attack on another analyst's opinion, not based on the merits of his argument or his expertise, but shockingly based on his spouse's race. Think about that for a moment. A major sports analyst actually suggesting a black man's opinions on race don't count because he's married to a white woman.
Brittney Griner voiced frustration in a recent interview, claiming that Caitlin Clark is ruining what used to make the WNBA great. Wait for this.
Empty stands?
Tom, let me just...
Go ahead, I'm so mad.
WNBA games used to be a chill, quiet place. You could bring your laptop and relax, maybe even get a little work done. But now... it's like there's a large gathering of people watching us from the stands. Some of them are yelling crazy shit about what they're seeing, putting unfair pressure on us to score like we're there for their entertainment. And that's pretty gross.
What?
Are you
I act like this.
Okay,
Rob, can you verify that this is what she said on the mom and pop WNBA model? that she's sick of the fan. And then she says, the whole thing is toxic. I saw a guy with his daughter in the crowd, both of them yelling, couldn't hear what they were saying exactly, but it was either about my performance or some light racism.
The sheer audacity, the profound illogicality, the blatant divisiveness of such a statement aired on national television sent chills down the spines of anyone who values coherent thought and intellectual honesty. The media mogul dissecting this segment expressed incredulity, exposing the profoundly backwards and frankly shocking commentary that was being broadcast. He couldn't believe someone would utter something so inflammatory and baseless, twisting a simple debate into something ugly and personal. The impact of this poisoned well of racial discourse wasn't just influencing the sport, it was actively sabotaging its integrity, undermining the very concept of objective analysis, poisoning the well of public perception, and driving away fans who just wanted to watch basketball, not a social experiment disguised as sports analysis. It was a clear sign that the WNBA's narrative was becoming dangerously untethered from reality, pushing boundaries of acceptable discourse, and the fuse was quickly burning down to the main event, ready to explode.
And I know Adam, I'm going to piggyback off of Adam because Adam's been saying this for a while, that this is why the WNBA is never, ever, ever going to work and never make money. And this is exactly what Caitlin Clark gets for bending the knee. Do you guys remember when she said, when we lost all respect for her, when she said, I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege. And the more we can elevate black women, this is going to be a beautiful thing. That's when it was all over. And Angel Reese and Brittney Griner, they walk around like the league owes them something. Even Ryan Clark's attitude as if, bro, where's the victimhood? These are freaking millionaires. Like, what are you talking about? It's attitude, it's no humility, just entitlement, and that's not confidence.
Then came the audio that ignited the inferno, the bombshell that ripped through the sports world. The definitive video surfaced, capturing Brittney Griner's alleged, chillingly clear, trash effing white girl comment. This wasn't a rumor, it was a recording. She had just fouled out against the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark's team, and her frustration boiled over into an explicit, racially charged outburst caught on tape, leaving no room for misinterpretation. When the media mogul heard it, he didn't mince words, he didn't pull any punches, he called it out for precisely what it was, a racially charged and deeply unprofessional outburst that demanded immediate accountability. This wasn't an isolated incident, it was seen by many as a culmination, a direct consequence of a pattern of behavior, a perceived aura of entitlement, and a history of controversial statements that has long shadowed Griner's career. The sports world had seen glimpses of this attitude before, seen her make controversial remarks, but this moment was different. This was a direct, undeniable statement, allegedly dripping with contempt, aimed squarely at the very forces, specifically a fellow player, attempting to revitalize the league she plays in. It was a moment that transcended basketball, forcing a harsh spotlight onto deeper divisions within the league, and opening the door for a much larger, more devastating critique of the WNBA's core problems. A critique that would shake the entire foundation of women's professional basketball. What truly set the media figure off, what truly fueled his righteous indignation, was the perceived hypocrisy and profound lack of gratitude embodied by Griner's alleged remarks. He delivered a stark, brutal reminder of the immense, almost unthinkable cost the United States government paid to secure her freedom. This wasn't a casual prisoner exchange. The country traded Victor Bout, a notorious dangerous arms dealer dubbed the Merchant of Death, a man responsible for countless deaths and global instability, to bring her home from Russian detention. That's the monumental level of commitment, the unprecedented sacrifice made to get her back on American soil, to restore her liberty. But then, to hear her allegedly make such a divisive, inflammatory comment against a fellow player, a player who is single-handedly pulling the WNBA from the brink of irrelevance, injecting millions into its struggling coffers, and drawing unprecedented eyes to the sport, was a shocking contrast. It spoke to a profound, almost unbelievable perceived ingratitude for the very nation and the very individual who had done so much. The media mogul's indictment was scathing, a relentless critique of an athlete seemingly prioritizing grievance and entitlement over basic gratitude, humility, and professional conduct. He questioned how someone given so much, for whom so much was risked and sacrificed, could then turn around and reportedly express such animosity towards an American teammate who was literally saving their shared profession. This wasn't just about a comment, it was about a deeply troubling mindset that threatened to undo all the sacrifices made. A profound betrayal of the very spirit of rescue and solidarity. The perceived attitude of entitlement within the WNBA, often whispered about in hushed tones, was then shockingly amplified by a wave of widely circulated, albeit satirical statements attributed to Griner. These quotes depicted her allegedly lamenting how fans ruined the WNBA's chill, quiet atmosphere with their boisterous enthusiasm. They claim she complained that thousands of people were watching, yelling, and putting unfair pressure on us to score like we're there for their entertainment, wishing for the empty stands of yesteryear. While these specific quotes were later revealed to be satirical, their impact was profound because the media mogul argued they perfectly captured and amplified a deep-seated, entitled mindset he believed was genuinely prevalent within the league. He highlighted the profound absurdity of professional athletes, whose very existence relies entirely on fan engagement and viewership, ostensibly complaining about the presence and passionate enthusiasm of those very fans. It was a mirror held up to what many perceived as an astonishing resistance to the very elements. Fans, attention, and legitimate stardom it desperately needed to thrive. This wasn't just a funny anecdote, it exposed a troubling disconnect, a professional sports organization seemingly unhappy about becoming popular, a paradox that defied all business logic and common sense. It further cemented the perception of a league caught in a self-destructive loop, seemingly rejecting the very success it claimed to crave, leaving many to wonder if they even wanted to succeed on a grand scale. The WNBA's self-inflicted wounds didn't stop there, extending deeply into its overall strategy and the very culture it seemed to foster, a culture that many argue is actively working against its own growth. Caitlin Clark herself made a significant strategic blunder, a misstep that arguably cost her credibility with both sides of a heated debate. In an attempt to appease critics and navigate the choppy waters of racial politics, she publicly addressed white privilege and spoke about elevating black women, but this attempt at appeasement spectacularly backfired. Instead of satisfying her critics, it was widely perceived as weakness, an apology for her own unprecedented success, and ultimately it satisfied absolutely no one. It made her look soft, and her most ardent supporters felt she had betrayed her own undeniable talent and focus. The media mogul delivered a brutal, unapologetic assessment of what he saw as victim millionaires, millionaire athletes, playing in a league hemorrhaging tens of millions of dollars every single year, yet consistently projecting an image of victimhood, complaining about racism and unfair treatment while being heavily subsidized by the NBA and supported by corporate sponsors. He argued this mentality was literally poking more holes in the boat instead of bailing out water, a catastrophic approach for a struggling enterprise. This was a devastating critique of the WNBA's fundamental failure to capitalize on its generational talent, instead fostering a corrosive culture of entitlement and division, choosing to prioritize political narratives and grievance over the very product that could save them, a product that should be about athletic excellence and entertainment above all else. The stark, uncomfortable reality became brutally clear when the media mogul drilled down into the cold, hard numbers, exposing the chasm between media narrative and actual on-court performance. Angel Reese's statistics were mercilessly dissected, a truly abysmal 22.7% field goal percentage, a number so low it made the earlier Michael Jordan comparison not just laughable, but deeply insulting to a basketball legend. Even more telling was her 43.8% on attempts within 5 feet of the basket, meaning she often couldn't even make layups consistently against professional competition. This wasn't just a bad game or a slump, it was a season-long trend. The media mogul didn't hold back in his direct challenge to the media narrative that continued to protect and promote underperforming players like Reese, while relentlessly criticizing the league's sole, undeniable star, Caitlin Clark. It raised deeply uncomfortable questions about why so many media personalities were willing to ignore glaring performance deficits in favor of pushing a preferred storyline, one that prioritized identity over demonstrable skill. And then came the truly provocative yet compelling Jackie Robinson parallel. The media mogul argued Clark was becoming the Jackie Robinson of the WNBA, not for breaking racial barriers in the traditional sense, but for facing intense, almost unprecedented internal hostility from within her own sport, from fellow players and commentators, as the WNBA's first truly transcendent white superstar, ushering in unprecedented attention and revenue that the league has never before seen. Both figures faced resistance for challenging the status quo for being undeniably game-changing, but both were undoubtedly good for their respective sports, forcing a long overdue and deeply uncomfortable conversation about merit versus identity that the WNBA continues to struggle with. In summary, the core argument delivered was devastatingly simple yet profound. The WNBA's unwavering prioritization of identity politics and victimhood over merit and performance is not just a strategic error, but a deeply self-destructive path that threatens its very existence. He highlighted how commentators and players alike seem more interested in manufacturing outrage and pushing racial narratives than in celebrating the actual talent and competition that defines the sport of basketball. The league, despite losing tens of millions of dollars every single year and relying entirely on NBA subsidies, appears to be actively alienating the very audience it desperately needs to survive and grow. This is a business built on entertainment and athletic spectacle, not social justice lectures, and ignoring this fundamental truth is, according to this analysis, a fatal flaw that will inevitably lead to its downfall. The ultimate test of this brutal assessment is now unfolding with chilling accuracy. The prediction about viewership numbers without Caitlin Clark during her recent injury absence is proving prescient. If the ratings crater, if the attendance numbers plummet, it will be the undeniable, brutal validation of his entire thesis, exposing the profound dependency of the league on one player and the true stark value proposition of its other stars. It's a sobering reality check that women's basketball desperately needed, a harsh truth that is impossible to ignore. Will the WNBA finally confront its profound systemic challenges, the pervasive entitlement, the glaring hypocrisy, and the self-destructive behavior that's preventing it from reaching its true massive potential? Or will it continue to drift into irrelevance, tragically ignoring the very truth that could be its salvation, condemning itself to a future of empty stands and financial struggle? What did you think of this savage takedown? Did Brittney Griner and the WNBA deserve every word of that brutal reality check? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button, and subscribe for more unfiltered sports commentary and harsh truths you won't hear anywhere else.